The other day, my oldest daughter asked me, Mom, what is your favorite stage of parenting? And I was just like, you know what? I have loved it all. I loved the little kids. I loved I've got 2 sets. So I've got 3 older ones that grew up together, and then I've got 2 little ones that are growing up together. I've got 2 sets. I said that right. And I just have loved watching them grow up. I love seeing my older kids now kind of trying to figure out who they are and what they're going to do. And I'm just like, I have loved it all.
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop because some of it is hard and I don't love it all.
But today on this podcast, we are going to talk about the things that we don't love.
I was just like, are we really? We love it all? Is that what we're going to say?
We do. In the long run, we love it all. But today, you're going to hear a lot of griping about people in our lives.
Hold on.
And
they're going to hear a lot of processing.
About people that we love deeply, but drive us crazy.
Deeply. We love these people deeply. And we love every season once we get past this one.
Yeah. And they move out.
Wow, that's not true. I'm Jamie. This is Heather. Welcome to Life in Motion. Let's get started.
I have been at war this summer.
Why?
Absolute
war?
Battle. Yes. Guns. Bombs.
What is happening?
Poisonous gases. No, not that far. I have pet chickens, and they are pet chickens living in my backyard. And they get to free range, but they have a coop and a house that they live in. And their food and their water is in there. But I'll open the door and then leave the door open so they can come back in and get food and water throughout the day. They can get in and lay their eggs whenever they feel.
Are they your pets or are you their pet?
No, they're my pets. They're my pets. Nobody bosses me around. And
all these chickens come and go at will. They're not the boss of me. I'm sorry. Carry on. I apologize.
But all day long, their food is invaded by squirrels. They're just squirrels. Just one starts and then another and another and another. And so it's like I set a 30-minute timer and I walk out there with my BB gun and just start shooting. Just, you're in there,
Can you tell the story? Is PETA going to write us a letter?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I've only killed a few, I think. The others run off.
Are there people that have an affinity towards squirrels? I'm not sure.
I'm sure there are, but anybody that has a bird feeder in their backyard feels my pain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because squirrels will take advantage of any free food.
What is the deal with squirrels?
They have a nature. They're freeloaders. Yeah. They have a nature that wants to hoard, that they feel entitled to anything in the yard.
They're freeloaders that feel entitled.
Anything that is somewhat edible, it is theirs. They are absolute crazy. So I have like a little plastic container. It's a leftover container from some food, and washed it. And it's a scoop for scooping out food for the chickens.
Okay.
If I leave that out, the squirrels will get it and start chewing on it and attacking it and stealing it. They've stolen my scoops. I don't know if they're doing it to get back at me.
I bet they
are. For shooting their friends.
I bet
But they steal the scoops. They chew on the containers to break through to get to the food. I mean, it is just like, how do I get rid of these dadgum animals? It's been the whole saga of my summer. Where's Mom doing? She's out shooting squirrels.
Oh my goodness. You have got quite a life.
I do. But speaking of squirrels being entitled. That reminds me, I had a conversation with my 2 oldest kids who are
also squirrels.
They're like squirrels. Okay. They have graduated from high school. They work full-time jobs. Yeah. They're out of the house the majority of the day, and then they're out in the evenings. So I don't see them very often. But I do buy groceries, and they eat food here and there and everything. So I told them a couple of weeks ago, I was like, just prepare your hearts. I am going to start charging you rent.
Yeah.
I'll give you the date, I'll give you plenty of time, advance notice to prepare, to make sure you've got the money in your bank account. But since you don't really do too many chores
Yeah.
and it's free food and lodging, we're just going to start charging rent. And one of my kids was just like, well, I guess I better find a new place to live.
You're like, I hope so.
And I
You should
was like,
tell them your
I
rent will be
hope-
cheaper here.
Well, I
but this will
said-
prepare you for when you do need to buy
Well,
a
I was like,
place.
well, I hope you find a better deal than food, rent, utilities, movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah. Free Netflix,
All
free all
of it. I hope you can find a
Toilet
better
paper.
deal than what I'm offering you. And I'm thinking like $200.
That's
a
what I was
month.
going to say, 200,
Yeah,
250.
whatever. Just
Starting to teach you to make
gotta
that a
start paying-
placeholder in
paying
your-
more bills, getting ready for independent living.
Yeah.
And
What did the other one say?
And the other one was like, oh, this is a great idea. Listen up, you better be happy about this because you know what mom's going to do. She's just going to charge us rent and then she's going to give us the money back when we move out.
Maybe,
I said,
maybe not.
Maybe not.
Oh my goodness. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like, even if you're going to give it back to them, like, make them sweat. Like, give it
Yeah.
back to them like 2 years after they move out or something, just for
I've been
funsies.
saving this for when you really need it.
Or I've been saving this and they move out and be like, Mama got a new car. And wait for you to get out so you wouldn't ask to drive it.
Kids, I'm going on vacation.
Oh my goodness. One thing we've done this summer that has been fun was I'm a great aunt.
You are.
Yeah, I am. My oldest sister's a grandmother, which is hilarious to
Yeah.
me because I feel 25. I'm not, but I feel 25. So my oldest sister had her first daughter like 1 year out of high school, and then her daughter had her first child 1 year out of high school. So young moms. So my great nephew is 13. And he loves my boys and came and spent some time with us over Christmas. And it was just so fun. And so we had told him, you come back this summer and spend some time with us. So it was time for him to come. And he's so sweet. He lives a much different life than my kids. My niece is a single mom, and Braxton's had a rough go at things. So his dad, when Braxton was 4 or 5, died of a drug overdose. And so he doesn't have a dad. He's still close with his dad's family. And of course, his grandpa's in his life, but doesn't have a male figure in his home. And so I've got 2 teenage boys older than him and a husband, and we love on Braxton. And we're always committed to when he comes to have a lot of fun. And he's got responsibilities my kids would not know what to do with. So he has a 2-year-old brother that he babysits different days when his mom's at work. I mean, like 12-hour shifts. And so he'll babysit, and he's not getting paid or anything. It's his lot in life. And he recently got his phone stolen. And I said, well, Braxton, when do you think you'll get another phone? And he's like, I don't know. My mom said, hopefully maybe in like 6 months or something. And just a different
Mentality.
life. Yeah, different mentality. He jokingly said, yeah, my mom says I'm spoiled.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, I hope my boys are listening to this, because he also said to me, which I thought was so cute because he's 13, and he's like, well, if I don't have a phone for all, I mean, it's fine, because I mean, like, kids these days, we're just always on our phones and we need a break from our phones anyway. So I'm just like, oh my goodness. And the reason he was telling me about his phone was because he was asking permission to use one of our phones to call his mom once a day and check in. I'm like, oh my goodness, of course. And so we did, we tried to make it as fun as possible while he was in town. The boys weren't working very much, so everybody goes to the pool every day. The boys all went to Topgolf one evening, and Brian took the boys to a golf course one day, and some of the kids went bowling one day, and just things that I hope that he doesn't always get to experience, and we're just like, let's do it. We ate out and did things that he just wouldn't always get to do, and he was just so thankful. And then he left, and I felt like we'd kind of tapped out on our spending for the week. So one of my kids asked to go bowling the next day, and I was like, "With what money? Not taking you bowling." So I'm trying to figure
broke.
out in my heart what's the disconnect there. I can afford it for Braxton, but you always think we live like this. This was a special treat, but
I do the same. We have a guest coming in town, out of town, old friend of one of my girls. And so they'll be in town. So I'm going to take them. I'm going to treat you guys to Paradise Beach, which is the water park, or other generations is Safari Joe's or Big Splash, depending on how old you are.
All the different names that this water park in Tulsa has
So
gone
I'm
through.
going to treat them to a day at Big Splash is what I call it. But
I would go ahead and call it Big Splash. Paradise Beach almost sounds a little bit scandalous.
okay.
It sounds a little bit like The Bachelor on TV, which I haven't watched for at least 15 years, but sounds a little bit like that. Like, let's go to Paradise Bay. I don't think you should take the out-of-town guest to that place.
Well, we're going to take her to Big Splash.
Okay, good. Okay.
And, treat her. But it's expensive to go. A ticket for a day is a big price tag. But, treat your friends. But if my girls want to just go, I'm like, oh, no, no, you guys just have fun
Way
here.
too
Play in
expensive.
your room. Play in your room. We don't need to do that.
It is interesting. I want my kids to not be entitled, and I don't know. I'm way harder on my own kids than I am if they have a friend over. Why? I don't know why that is.
Some internal value.
Yes.
So our three older kids are all pretty relatively close in age. And when the oldest started driving, we were planning on, he had already had a job since he was 15. And so we were planning on, you save your money and we will go 50-50 on a car.
Sure.
And then somebody older and wiser than us said, that oldest is probably going to be driving around younger siblings.
Yeah.
And you really might think about investing in a family car that has a lot of safety features instead of the $5,000 car that you were going to buy.
Yeah.
Invest in something that you'll feel secure having that older child chauffeur around the younger kids. And so we were like, okay, all right. So we decided to do that. So then those three older kids, as they got their driver's license, one after the other, now they are sharing a vehicle.
Yeah.
And the arguments and the fights that come out of, it's my turn, no, it's my turn, and who's paying for gas, and I just filled up the tank, and now it's empty again. Somebody owes me money. It's like constant. And I realized that I could solve this problem. I could take out a loan or, dip into savings and buy another vehicle. And I realized, but I don't want to do that because you've got a problem in your life. I don't want to jump in and save it. One, because it makes my life easier.
Yeah.
But
oh man,
what am I giving you? I'm just smoothing out the whole path for you when you...
First of all, I think you'd have to buy two new cars if you really wanted to smooth out the
would.
path.
Yeah.
If you just bought one more, then I just think that problems get more complex. And I agree. And I do agree. Nevertheless, both my children have vehicles that they didn't pay for, both my drivers. It's interesting as my kids have, and I am also trying to teach them, of course, to not be entitled. Both my kids have vehicles that we own, that we allow them to use, but one is like this one is yours, this one is yours. But it's interesting because Brian, they do have to pay for their own gas, and although we cover maintenance, they have to schedule their maintenance and take it in, and I'm trying to teach them like how to interact with a mechanic. And it turns out I kind of get mad at the world sometimes because people don't really treat a 16 and an 18-year-old with much respect. Like they try to upsell them stuff that they know they don't need because there's nobody there to tell them not to buy it. Mm-hmm. So then I have to tell my kids, I want you to take ownership of this, but if I'm not there with you and they offered to upsell you, you'd send a picture of what they're saying and say, let me text a friend, phone a friend, ask my parents what they think. And so, it's a lot of back and forth. But Brian is interesting because whatever chores our kids have or their responsibilities, he stays really, like I get twirled up because I want that. Like even today, I had a kid oversleep for work and I start losing my cool. Why? If he gets fired, he gets fired.
It's his job. It's a good lesson for him. But we can't stop ourselves.
But I just can't. I'm just like, get out of bed. You're late. It's like, oh my gosh. But Brian is a bit, I shouldn't say a bit, Brian is
Completely.
completely
Calm.
calm, cool, collected. So he does things differently than me in a really great way. Like the other day, he just will walk in and a chore hasn't been done that my older kids share, kind of like sharing a car. They share dishes and lawn, and whoever's doing the lawn doesn't have to do the dishes that week. And we had a weird week where they shared the lawn, so then they have to share the dishes. And it's really hard when you share responsibility. And
Whose turn is it?
right, whose turn is it?
I'm not going.
Brian just walks in and notices that the dishes are full, and he's just like, everybody hand me your keys and your phone. And he just walks through the room.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, and he's like, I don't want to hear it. And they're like, but Dad, so-and-so did this. So, and he's like, I don't care what happened. I pay for the phones and I own the vehicles. And the expectation is that this would be done, and I'm not going to be the mediator.
Yeah.
And so inevitably, somebody gets it done and everybody gets their stuff back. And they might be mad at each other, but he's like, I'm not smoothing the path. But then me, on the flip side, as those things happen, I start thinking, I don't want them to lose their cars and their phones. I want to be able to get a hold of them when they're not here and figure out what's going on. I want them to be able to drive themselves to work. I don't want to drive anybody to work. I think sometimes my making my kids feel entitled is because that's easier for me.
Oh, for sure. Because I could buy another car. I could figure out a way that we get another car, and then we can put these fights to rest and all of these attitudes and everything.
Money, if we have enough money, if we just have all the money in the world, we could solve all the problems.
Right.
But what I saw this week with Braxton in town was there were some areas of life that I thought, I wish my kids were behaving more like that.
Yeah.
Like when I was just like, you watch Julian for 12 hours at a time? And he's like, well, only when my mom works a long shift. My kids have to watch Eleanor for 1 hour and they're like, oh, she's so annoying. Just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that the more financial resources that my immediate family has is not always panning out as beautifully. And I do not think Braxton has it easy. Driving him to drop him back off, I was just feeling like, I wish I could keep him forever. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish he didn't have to go back and babysit 12 hours a day.
Well, you're really thinking is like, I wish I could give him
more stuff.
Give him
I
more
wish I could
stuff,
give him some
an
money.
easier life. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I'm doing my kids a disservice instead.
I know that I am.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's really terrible.
There's a book that we read, you and I both read years ago, called When Helping Hurts, or Helping Without Hurting, or whatever.
Those words in some combination.
Yeah, just mix them together and they come up with a really great book. But we read it specifically for our church's outreach programs. How do we serve the community in ways that actually benefit people versus enabling them to stay where they are? Because we know from raising kids, and I mean, it makes sense, but you know that just because someone has a need, it's not always the best response to go slap money on it. Mm-hmm. And people like to do that. Even with Braxton, I think the most important thing he got while he was with us was our undivided attention. Mm-hmm. But we sure did spend a lot of money also.
Yeah.
And I do think that my heart was right. We were doing that for his benefit. But we were talking with a friend last night at dinner about when people want to help you. Maybe you have an illness or you need help in whatever way, and how we tend to want to help you in the ways that we want to help you.
Yeah.
Versus in the ways that would best benefit you. So with my kids, I want to help you by bringing you lunch at work when you forgot to pack it because it makes me feel good and I'm needed. And you asked me for it, and relationship and butterflies and all that, when maybe my biggest gift to you is to say, I'm not bringing you lunch today.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes when we serve people that have just had surgery or what have you. We want to bring you a meal, and sometimes they don't need any more food.
Yeah.
Or we want to offer you suggestions on how to rehab after surgery or whatever. It's just like 75 people are sending me 75 different opinions. Stand down.
Yeah.
But we want to help however it feels good to us, versus asking, how can I serve you today? I don't think we always know how to answer that, though. But I think all these things kind of weave together. Are we doing what's best for the recipient, or are we doing what's best for ourselves?
Whit and I have been having this ongoing discussion about values and how we spend money. My perception and feeling is that I am a much more frugal person than he is.
Okay, yeah.
But I know, I don't think I know exactly to the degree, but I like to spend money on the things that I value. And, it's just what I think is important. And he likes to spend money on the things that he values. The only problem is that the things that he values benefit him. And I don't think that's fair. And so
I feel like we could give an example, like if you don't mind.
yeah.
You like to spend money on things like trees for the yard that could provide shade, that could do this,
beautify the house,
the whole
and the property
family
and everything.
benefits.
The whole family benefits,
in your opinion.
In my opinion, and let's do something simpler than that. I prefer to eat lunch at home.
Oh, okay.
Or, it's like we have food in the fridge. I have gone shopping, or we had pot pie for dinner last night. There are leftovers.
Yeah.
Let's eat that. Whit prefers to eat out.
Okay.
It's too much hassle to reheat that pot pie. I'm just going to pick something up on my way home. It's fine. No big deal. I prefer to live more frugally than that. Okay. And so he prefers luxury. Okay. So
or he just doesn't like your cooking. I'm just kidding.
He loves my cooking, but only when it's hot and fresh out of the oven.
Okay.
Like, reheating is no.
Yeah, there are people that feel that way. Leftovers are no bueno.
One of my kids does not like leftovers. Okay. He says things like, it's cold, or it's old, or, it's 24 hours and it's old. And so it can't possibly be eaten, which there's a lot of foods that are better as leftovers than soup or lasagna or something like that. But he's just like, it's old, I can't eat it. So my value is to eat at home. Whit prefers to eat out. We don't have a hard boundary in our budget of we only spend X amount of dollars on eating out. And so when I see him eating out, I'm like, that's coming out of my money. That's coming out of what I want to spend money on. And you're spending all this money getting barbecue for lunch when there's pot pie in the refrigerator, and it's like this conflict in me, and we have to hash it out and figure out how we're going to spend our money. But my son that doesn't eat leftovers has told Whit, just made a rule, if you go to Chipotle or any other restaurant, you need to pick me up food as well.
Because I also don't like leftovers. Yeah.
And I'm like, do not buy him food. We are teaching him that he gets to eat out whenever he wants. And that's it. Conflicts with my values, but also we're training him in a way that he won't be able to sustain when he is paying his bills on his own and moving out and everything. It's just this, which Whit's now like, I'm not going to get him food when I eat out. And Whit is leaning towards my values a little bit, and he does eat at home a bit more than he used to, but it's a constant back and forth.
Is it a financial value or a health value or a combination? Because there are places you can eat out that are cheaper than preparing food at home.
It's a combination.
Curious.
If we have food in the refrigerator, that is already bought and paid for. You can eat that food without spending more money.
I do agree with that.
Especially when it gets to Wednesday night when it's trash day and I'm throwing out food because
the son in question is correct. It's old food because you're about to throw it out.
Not if it's 24 hours, 48 hours, you give it 72 hours
But you
tops.
just said you're getting ready to throw it away.
On Wednesday,
I'm
because
just
I don't
arguing
want to
their
keep,
point.
I don't want you, please.
Okay.
They do not need any help.
Okay. I have a value called read my mind. That's my value.
I don't want to speak the words. You just need to, I like to call it a game.
I like a value of having fun in this family. We're going to play a game called Read Mom's Mind.
Guess what?
And you can eat out when she feels like eating out.
When
and
she doesn't feel like cooking.
And you'd better eat the food in her refrigerator when she doesn't want to spend money. And you'd better know the difference.
You know
my
what?
value.
You know what I hate? You know what I hate?
What?
Is that everybody asks me,
What's for dinner?
what's for dinner?
Oh, yeah.
What's the plan for dinner?
yeah.
I'm like, would somebody else come up with a plan? This is one of my least favorite things in the world is coming up with a plan for dinner, especially when it's 100 degrees out. You want me to cook and it's 100
officially
degrees.
the end of summer because you're really like
I'm
you don't
hot.
usually
I
do
am
this.
hot.
You don't usually. I'm the angry one, not you. But I hear anger over who's going to come up with a plan for dinner.
So guess what? When they ask me, I'm like, fine, you just eat whatever you want. Just go out and eat.
Yeah.
Because, and then
can't
my
deal with
value
it.
is pushed aside because I don't want to do the right thing and fix the food that's in the refrigerator.
I have a This has just turned into a rant that I hope helps someone.
Let's call this last
It's a
2
cruel,
minutes
cruel
of
summer.
cruel summer. Last 2 minutes, pet peeves. Go.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I do have this pet peeve of people not eating healthy. And so I have a value of if you're going to eat out, do we have to eat the grossest, junkiest food imaginable? Anyway, it's a pet
Yeah,
peeve of mine.
that's-
I have this one kid in particular that needs to bulk up for his sport. He needs to get stronger, so he needs to eat more protein. And so I've sent him all the articles I can find on how to add muscle to a skinny body frame. But he still wants to eat candy and soda.
Yeah. Just like, what are you doing?
Do you want my help or not? I got protein shakes in the fridge. They're free. Not for you, not for me. They're free. I paid for them, but for you,
They're free.
they're free. But go ahead and grab yourself a package of candy and let me know how it goes. What's your pet peeve? You got just a couple more seconds. We
I
gotta
know
go.
I can't think of them. I think about them.
You were really
while they're
ripping
happening.
and roaring a
Yeah,
second
I
ago.
was. I'm out
You're
of
all-
steam.
Okay.
I just spilled everything, and now I'm done. I'm fine now.
Okay.
It's fine. We can carry on.
Okay. So we're going to not have entitled kids. We're only going to serve people the way that they can receive love. And nobody eats junk food or fast food or spends any money on anything unless they've read our minds and it's okay with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Happy summer.
Good luck.
Good luck. I think, Heather, the hope in all of this as we wrap up the season of Life in Motion, as we wrap up summer, as we continue to parent because we're not done, is we've said this a million times throughout our time in Life in Motion, but where are your people and where's your community? Because it's probably better for us to spar about like these kids and everybody's entitled and then take a deep breath and say, how do we regroup and move forward and strengthen our homes and our families?
If I sit and stew on this and think about my kids and the argument that they're having over the TV remote or the vehicle or whatever it might be, you in my own mind, I just start to think, oh my gosh, I'm doing such a terrible job. These kids are spoiled.
Sure.
In all caps,
man.
spoiled.
Yeah.
But when you are able to talk to somebody, to relate to other parents, other people ahead of you and find out, okay, what do I do here? You realize it's not as bad as I think it is.
That's exactly right. And there's always
I can always do
a way
better.
forward.
There's always a way forward. Yeah.
It even makes me feel like I externally process, shocker. So sometimes these podcast recordings are actually counseling sessions for me where I walk away and I'm like, I just grew up some. But it makes me think like today what I walk forward with is the realization that I do have values that I've not focused on to know how to articulate to anyone. So it is very much when I'm tired, when I'm hot, when it's the end of summer, when we're about to go back to school and it just feels like the wheels have fallen off, I'm expecting people to read my mind. And when I say that, I'm like, well, of course they have no idea how I'm thinking or feeling. So what am I doing to foster relationship with my family and saying, hey, I'm starting to feel the end of summer, blues and being frustrated about silly. I told Eleanor when I woke up this morning, I'm like, no offense, but I was taking her to theater. I need you to sit quiet while we drive for a minute because I'm not a morning person and I'm feeling the temptation to be grumpy with you and you've not done anything wrong. But I can do that with my kids about fast food. I can do that. I can be a better parent by just surfacing this tension instead of being frustrated that nobody's reading my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tension is, Cooper and Chase and Eleanor. I don't know why I have this internal threshold of how much money we can spend in a week. And when you ask for something over the threshold, I bite your head off. I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to figure it out because I do have a value for not overspending. So let's surface it and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, kids, let's meal plan together. What are we all going to make? Who's going to make dinner tonight? Does it always have to be me? Do I need to be? No, it doesn't. Somebody else can do this.
Yeah. Eleanor and Brian, and I would say primarily Eleanor, made dinner the other night. And instead of celebrating her like I should have, the next day I was like, don't come up in here asking me what's for lunch because I just watched you cook dinner.
I know you're capable.
What I should have done was celebrate her newfound skills. Say, I want you to start learning how to do this for other meals. But it's end of summer, so I was just like, don't come up here asking me for food. I watched you prep dinner.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my gosh, Mom.
Just going to say, how was your day?
She's like, I just wanted to say I love you. I'm like, I love you too. Make your own lunch. Anyway, I think the way forward is recognizing and noticing the tensions that happen in any family, in any relationship over money, over communication, over fast food, and figuring out why do I feel this way and talking it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can do this, guys. We can do this. Heather and I are going to do this. You can make your kids cook dinner too. And thanks for joining us this season on Life in Motion. Heather, this is
our last episode.
This is the last episode of this summer season.
Now we take a break.
Any parting words? You can do it.
No, just
you can do it.
You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it.
That's what the words are, I guess. You can do it. Jamie told me what the words are.
And the bossy one says, you can do it. And we'll see you next season on Life in Motion.